Hey everybody, it's been a little while. I recently had somebody asking about the possibility of a new rig rundown, and I figure I haven't for a really long time just because my stable of guitars is ever changing. But it's kind of slowing down right now, just based on, a lot of different things. Work's been really busy, so I haven't had a ton of time to dive into these. I'm trying to spend more time with the family just in general when I'm home. And then just the overall economy, I'll be completely honest, is getting a little tough to be doing all these builds all the time. So I'm slowing down a little bit, trying to make the most of what I have. But there are some new things in here, or things that I've changed a little bit since, the last time I've talked about them. So let's just jump into it, I guess. I believe I have everything here that I can think of, but let's just start with my Baritone ukulele. It's from Mitchell, which I believe is a Guitar Center brand. It is the MUB 70S-N, whatever that means. Backstory on this one, I believe I got this one up in Maine, where me and the family have vacationed a few times over the past 5 or 10 years, and there's a Guitar Center up there that I would usually pop into maybe once a trip. And one time I went up there just looking for something small that I could jam with, because usually I would bring my acoustic guitar up there, my Taylor, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But I just felt like trying to find something a little bit more compact that might sound a little different, that I could just kind of mess around with. And I came across this, and I've always been kind of turned away from ukuleles in general, just because it's a whole new set of chords that you'd have to try to figure out, and it's just strung very differently. It's just a very different beast. And when I came across this one, someone at the store had told me that what's cool about the Baritone ukulele is you actually string it like a normal guitar, or at least like the first 4 strings of a normal guitar. So it goes from, thickest string to thinnest, more or less. I believe that's the case. I forget off the top of my head. But if it's not that, then it's really close. But it is tuned just like that. I believe these, I forget what they come tuned from the factory. It could be A, but I think it's actually C maybe. But the way that I tune it with an open tuning, which is C, G, C, E. And that's kind of a version of what I use for most of my acoustic stuff. As you can see, I stickered the hell out of it. I love stickers, and I thought this would just be another one that I could just kind of mess around with. I let my daughter play around with it all the time, but I don't really worry about this one getting smashed up or anything. And it's cool, but it's not like super sentimental. But I did record a song with this. It was called The Cheese, from my Belated Acoustics album. Just to kind of give you a little run through, it sounds like this. So kind of cool. But yeah, if you strung it, or if you tuned it the way it's really meant to be tuned, you can just play regular like guitar chords on it. Basically, I could play it like drop D. But yeah, fun little uke. I don't play it a ton. I usually keep it in another area of the house just to kind of mess with on the couch every now and then. But it's a fun little thing. Notable stickers on here. I got one from Third Story Guitars on there. This cat is from What We Do in the Shadows, the movie. I've still never seen the show, but I've heard it's really good. Been meaning to check it out. Bueno y Sano is probably my favorite Mexican restaurant in the area. Super good quesadillas. Little Gengar. Love Gengar. Porky Pig. I just had that. Alan Corona, my buddy. A bunch of other random little things. Rugrats, Chucky. I don't know. But yeah, kind of cool. Nice little thing to jam on every now and then. All right, next is my other ukulele. This one is, again, not quite your typical ukulele. This is a Gretsch. It's a Gretsch G9126. And I saw this on the internet one time because I was looking to get a ukulele for my girlfriend, and I wanted something, you know, from a reputable dealer or, you know, brand, and I came across the Gretsch stuff, and so I was just kind of looking through their catalog, and I saw that they had this. Some people call it a galele because, you know, guitar and ukulele. But I don't know. I couldn't resist. As soon as I saw it, I was like, yeah, I'm getting one for her and one for me. So I've had this for a few years. I did obviously do some paint modifications to it. I kind of modeled it after one of Tom DeLonge's acoustics. He had an acoustic guitar that he used for a while that was white with a drip kind of like this. I did black with an orange and blue drip. I thought that was kind of cool. I did put some tuning pegs on here, or not tuning pegs, strap buttons, just so I can use a strap, because it makes it a lot easier to use. But I ended up taking the strap off just because I think I needed the strap for another guitar build or something. I don't remember. These are tuned to A. I have it in open A, similar to all of the other, you know, sort of tunings that I like to use. So it's in the same sort of tuning as the ukulele you already saw, or the Taylor that I'll show you in a little bit. But it just lets me do the same sort of chords. It's kind of hard to play with my big ass fingers, but it's fun. I did do a recording with this called Taste the Soup on my Belated Acoustics album. It's basically just like a little ukulele solo. So kind of cool. But yeah, nothing really crazy to talk about with this one. I did have the fretboard and the frets cleaned up a lot from Healy Guitars, my local luthier. I haven't been to him in a little bit, but I brought him tons of stuff over the years, and he made this a lot more playable. It was pretty rough around the time that I got it, but it plays great, and it's another one of those great like couch players. But yeah, the tuning is A, E, A, C sharp, E, A. So they're almost all the same. And when you have something like this, putting it in an open tuning just makes it so much easier to play. But yeah, another fun one. Okay, this is my Taylor GS Mini Koa. There's been a few different versions of this guitar over the years, but I do believe this is the very first one with just the 3 EQ knobs here. I think, well, not even EQ. I think one is volume, one is bass, and one's treble. I don't really use them very much because if I'm going to record or anything like that, I'll just use microphones. But I keep this in an open E flat. I've recorded a ton of songs with this. Everything from stuff on my Belated Acoustics album to my Study in Moppishness EP, to even stuff I just put out very, very recently, like Lucky to Have You. So basically the story with this one, I had another Taylor for a while. It was something I found on eBay, I believe, that I had just gotten a pretty good deal on. It was a Taylor 416 CE. And if you know anything about the Taylor line, the 16 series is a little bit bigger. It's not quite a jumbo, but it's getting there. It's pretty big. It was a little too big for what I wanted. I wanted something a little bit smaller that didn't sound like a small guitar. And that seems to be something that a lot of brands struggle with. I played a bunch of different ones over the years. I played like baby Taylors. I've played some smaller Martins. I think, you know, probably a bunch of others. And this was the first one that I came across that had a big full sound in a small compact size, and I just fell in love with it immediately. I'm a huge fan of Koa in general. Koa is a wood from Hawaii, and they always say, you know, it just livens up the more and more and more you play it. And I've had this, it must be since at least 2017 at this point, because that's when I came out with that EP, that first one. And I've just played it and played it and played it so much. It's probably the guitar here that I've played more than anything. And I can comfortably say that I would never get rid of this guitar. It's really, really special. I don't think I've ever gotten it serviced, ever, in the 8 or however many years I've had it. Which is pretty crazy. I should probably get it serviced just because it deserves it. I've had to do a little bit of, you know, truss rod adjustments here and there, but nothing crazy. The frets have always been in really good shape. I mean, everything about this guitar is just fantastic. And every time I play it, you know, around other people especially, I get so many compliments on just how great this guitar sounds. And, you know, it's one in a million for sure. Because I've even played other newer versions of this guitar, the Taylor Koas, and they didn't really compare. And I've tried some of the other ones, the GS Minis. I had a rosewood one for a short while, and I've played a couple of the others, like the spruce ones, and maybe some others too, but they just didn't quite sound as good as this one. Maybe it's just for me playing it so much over the years, I don't know, but fantastic guitar. I absolutely love it. And yeah, this one will be with me forever, for sure. To kind of break down the tuning a little bit more, I know I said E flat, or open E flat, but I have it written down in sharp here. So it's D sharp, A sharp, D sharp, G, A sharp, and D sharp. So yeah, that's all I got to say about this one. It is a absolute workhorse. Love it. So I'm going to talk about this one a little bit. I haven't really done a extensive overview on this guitar, and maybe now that I'm doing this one, maybe I won't. I don't know. But this guitar is very recent. I wanted to do a build with a whammy bar for a little while now, and I figured why not just do a Strat. And I came across this body and neck on Reverb from a seller that started a project and never finished it. I don't remember if they're the same year, but apparently the body and the neck were both from around the early 90s. It's a Lake Placid blue color. And I thought, you know, why not? I've got parts lying around that I can use to just finish it up. The bridge is non-original. The neck was sanded down on the back, so it's actually raw on the back. I never found a back piece here, but I didn't really need to. I stuffed it with some foam to kind of try to quiet it a little bit. I started doing this on a lot of my guitars too. It's just a little bit of gaff tape that is just nice because it keeps the guitar in place. I've found a lot over the years. My guitar just likes to slide down, and I'll be watching back videos of myself playing, and I'll just be noticing myself just like adjusting the guitar and just pulling it closer because it just keeps slowly sliding away. So you'll notice on a few of these other guitars, I just started putting the tape on there. I know that's a fairly common thing to do. So I'm not like breaking ground or anything, but it's something I started doing recently just because I noticed, I'm like, why do I keep doing that to my guitars when there's simple fixes? So anyway, this is an EMG 81 pickup. I had that lying around from another build, or actually it was from my black Jazzmaster. I took it out of there. I had the knob. I had this pick guard from something I just never ended up using. Just realized I never finished screwing this screw down. Whatever. I put some just standard Fender tuners on there, and I forget. I think I strung this with, yeah, it must be 9 to 46, because that's pretty much what I have on everything. Forgot what tuning I was in for a second. Now, I'm not done tinkering with this guitar because when this body came to me, it didn't have the trem bar, and the only tremolo arm I had isn't a very good fit. As you can see, it's not threaded super well. So I definitely am considering just getting a whole new bridge, because I know this bridge is like a cheap aftermarket thing from Amazon or something. So I'm probably just going to get a Fender bridge, or maybe a Goto. I'm not 100% sure yet. And other than that, it needs a setup, and I don't know. I did get a tortoise pick guard for this. I thought that would be cool, but then I just never ended up using it. But I don't know. It's pretty cool. I'm not using my typical tone setting for this guitar just because I don't feel like switching it between each guitar. This is the tone I actually tend to use for my black Jazzmaster. So yeah, it's a cool build. I still need to mess around with it a lot. I don't love the way it sounds. I did one cover with it real quick with a Turnstile song, and I didn't love the way that it sounded personally. I did get some compliments on the tone though, so I don't know. Maybe I'll leave it, maybe I won't, but I'm gonna keep tinkering with it. I do want to get the bridge situated, something a little bit more stable, so I can use it a little bit more frequently without worrying about it going out of tune or just feeling kind of flimsy. But we'll see. But yeah, this is a fun one. I don't know if I'll keep it forever. I probably won't, knowing me, but it's kind of fun for the time being. So, yeah, on to the next one. Okay. So, this is a build that I finished up maybe a month ago, maybe a little bit more. I talked about it in its own dedicated video, but I'll just kind of go over it real quick. This was a project that I wanted to do because I don't remember exactly, maybe like 6 months ago, 7 months ago, Tom DeLonge wanted to do a release of his Padre Strat, like a limited edition run through his company, which if you don't know, he's a big fan of the Padres, the baseball team, and I am not a fan of the Padres, even though I do think the brown and orange color combo is pretty sweet. But I thought, you know, I got to be able to do something cool for my baseball team, the Braves. And so with it being later in the year, I was kind of itching to do a build, but I can't really paint anything myself right now because, or at least not over the winter, just because it's too cold outside. It would ruin the finish. So I hit up my buddy Alan Corona, and he made this body for me. He cut it and milled it and did all the paint himself and did an awesome job. The stripe was not originally supposed to be this thick, and he asked me if it was what I wanted, and I told him, like, honestly, no, but I instantly thought that it was really cool because it almost reminded me of those PRS guitars that Dave Brownsound used for a little while. That was actually the same color combo as the Padre, but he had a single cut PRS. It was like a Tremonti. It was brown and it had this big orange stripe going through, and it almost reminded me of this. I think it was actually bigger than this, but I thought it was super cool, and I was like, you know what? I'm perfectly cool keeping it the way that it is. I didn't want him to do any extra work either. He did such a great job already, and I think it's sick. I really do. I threw the the metal knob on there. I mean, otherwise it's basically a Tom DeLonge guitar. I did put a Friedman Classic Plus pickup in here, only because I didn't want to spend more money on a pickup, because I already had just some lying around. And this one came in my Les Paul when I had originally gotten it. I really didn't like the way it sounded in the Les Paul, so I just kind of held on to it. And I tried it in this guitar, and I'm like, oh, this thing rips. So check this out. I went with a Parchment pickguard. Parchment's just been my jam lately. I've been really enjoying the Parchment. I think the one on the Lake Placid Blue, I think that's just straight white, if I remember correctly. But I really like the Parchment. This is a newer Tom DeLonge Strat neck. So this was from the version that came out like a couple years ago. I got it for a good deal. I think it's technically a factory second neck. I think it was one that came out a little bit after because it had like a small defect or something. So they actually scratched off the serial number, or at least the end of it, and stamped it used. But I was like, whatever. I got a good deal on it, and I don't really care what it says on the back. You might notice I start to put tape on the back of all these, and I list it with the string gauge that I put on here, and sometimes even the tuning. So I actually have 10 to 52s on this guitar, and I actually have it in E flat. So this is my main guitar for E flat, or sometimes I'll even go a little lower on it. It's nice to have a guitar that has somewhat thicker strings on it than my usual 9 to 46. That I can go a little lower if I need to and not have strings that are all flopping around. But yeah, that's about it for this guitar. I did put some Braves pins on there that I thought were pretty sweet. I did get this blue and red octopus, Mark Hoppus octopus pin from Alan Corona as well. So thank you, Alan. Super cool. But yeah, that's about it. Really, really like this guitar. Super lightweight and just a ripper. Really, really fun. Okay, we got the bibcaster. If you don't know, this sticker is a cat of mine who is no longer with us. He passed away, maybe 6 years ago now, 5 or 6. His name was Mr. Bib. I've written songs about him. He was the best little dude. And yeah, so that's why we call it the bibcaster. I don't think I came up with that name myself. I think somebody had said that on Instagram or something. I don't remember. But this is my #1 Strat. I've had this built for a while now, maybe like 7 years or something. It's basically everything I want in a Strat. And it just sounds monstrous with this bare knuckle juggernaut pickup. And this guitar realistically can do it all with this pickup. It can get super heavy or it can get really, really clean. I'll show you some heavy now. Super tight pickup, but it also doesn't sound like just straight metal, because what's really cool about this pickup is it actually has ceramic magnets and Alnico magnets in it, which is not something you see often at all. And it just quickly became my favorite. I tried it out years ago. It's one of the signature pickups of Misha Mansour of Periphery. And I gave it a shot and I just fell in love. It sounds good in every single guitar I've tried it in. Les Pauls, Strats, Jazzmasters, others that I'm blanking on. But yeah, it always sounds good. This neck, I've had a few different necks on this guitar. If you've followed me for a while, I had a subsonic neck on here for a while. I originally had it built with a neck custom made by Healy Guitars, my local luthier and friend of mine. But I just kind of strayed away from the specs that I had him build that neck on, especially the fact that it was very, very flamey maple. And I just wanted to go back to something similar. And the thing I didn't mention, this was actually a recreation of a guitar I had from even longer ago, maybe like 12, 13 years ago. And that started as a Fiesta Red Strat that I got from Warmouth Parts. It did originally have a Seymour Duncan Invader pickup in it, but it also had an original Tom DeLonge Strat neck, just like this one, and like from 2001 or 2. And I modded the hell out of that guitar. I swapped the electronics so many times. I swapped the neck, I think, at least once. Yeah, because I eventually went to a neck that had like Wenge on the back and ebony on the front. It had no fret markers. I put an Evertune bridge on it, and I bastardized the thing so much, and I eventually sold it for parts because I couldn't even recognize the guitar that I had anymore, and it just kind of became the one that got away in a sense. So a few years later, you know, maybe like 5 years later, I rebuilt it and I made it, you know, everything I wanted it to be. And I absolutely love this guitar. It's probably my number one for lead guitars if I'm ever doing like some lead guitar recording on, you know, some original stuff, or any song. I might use it for rhythm if it's like a heavier song, because it just rips. Not much else to say about this one. I just absolutely love it. And I love the color. It's definitely got some wear and tear, which is cool. Usually I don't hold on to my guitars long enough for it to get any wear and tear. I mean, to be honest, the first dent that I put on this thing was right here. That was when I was assembling it for the first time. I botched that. But I got a little ding there. I got a bunch of small dings here just because my daughter, when she was even younger than she is now, I would be playing this and I would just like leave it on the floor, and then she would like play with her toys on top of it, like her little cars or whatever, and just like smack into it. And I'm like, whatever. And then one day I just started to notice the paint here just started flaking away, which was interesting. I don't know why. I've heard Warmoth finishes tend to do that for some reason. I don't know why. But that's the only time I've ever seen it. But yeah, absolutely love this one. I do have a bunch of pins on here. One of which is a small version of the bibcaster itself. The others are just versions of Tom DeLonge guitars. I got a Daphne Blue, Graffiti Yellow, Surf Green, the black Boxcar Racer one, and this one was actually meant to be modeled after the Kurt Cobain Jaguar or Mustang, and they accidentally did a Strat, or they did an order for the Strat instead of a Mustang, but in those colors, so that's why there was this one. I thought it was kind of cool, so I got it anyway. I don't believe the person who made this is doing these anymore. They did go by Neoteric Designs or something like that on Etsy, I believe, but I don't remember if that name was changed or not, and I don't think they're making these anymore. I'm not sure, but I love them. I love pins. Okay, this is another new one I haven't really shown off yet. This is a project I just finished, or am still slightly tweaking. I've been wanting to do something like this for quite a while, but basically what this is a Squier Jazzmaster 12-string body that I got used off of eBay or something. And I wanted to see if I could put a 6-string bridge on it and a 6-string neck and somehow make it work. This is a Squier Classic Vibe 60s neck, I believe. I did a lot of work on the neck to make it a lot better. I polished the hell out of the frets. I really had to oil the fretboard a lot. I rolled the fret edges a lot, so it's just a lot more comfortable. It's a great feeling neck now, though, man, let me tell you, and it wasn't that expensive. The electronics, the pickups and all like the pots and everything were from, I want to say, an American Performer Jazzmaster, so it's not the original Squier pickups. The bridge, oh, I don't exactly remember where I got this bridge from. This was just from my parts pile. I think this might have come from like a black top Telecaster body or something. I don't honestly quite remember. I really don't. I will say that I just tried to line up the holes as best as I could. I had to re-drill for the mounting screws because it just has like the 1, 2, 3 underneath the saddles instead of the ones in the 4 corners like the Jazzmaster, like the original model has. but I'm having some issues with intonation. I have to get some shorter bridge intonation screws because I'm not getting them down far enough to really nail that intonation. And the screws are getting so close to the strings that it's going to get really difficult to even make it work properly. But I don't know. I thought it would just be really cool to have a guitar like this one. You know, I love the hardtail Jazzmasters, but I wanted something with this sort of pickup scenario that would give me some different kind of tonal options, because I like the sounds of Jazzmasters. I just don't really like the whole bridge assembly and all that. And I just, when I saw that the 12 string had a Fiesta Red option, I was like, I gotta do something like this eventually. When I saw this one pop up, you know, for parts, I just had to jump at it. So here's a quick idea of the tone. I'm still using the same tone from before that I've been using all the electric guitars on. So this isn't the ideal tone, but this thing can rip, but it can also clean up really well. You can definitely tell it's a lot thinner sounding than the other ones. Let me see if I can clean it up. Oh, I forgot I got the I got a gate on there that's pretty high. Let me see if I can pull up the tone that I've been working on. There it is. Just for good measure. Cool. This is the only guitar I have strung with 11s. I wanted something that was a little stronger with rhythm playing. I'm not really planning on doing much lead work with this sort of guitar, but I got it in standard 11s, and so far I'm really digging it. It all came together pretty well, except for the issue with the intonation, but I'll work on that and I'll figure it out. Got a little Chrono Trigger sticker on here. Couldn't resist. Best video game of all time. But yeah, it's a fun one. Tape's already starting to come off. I might have to redo that one. But yeah, fun guitar. All right, it's time to talk about this guy. This is my baby. Had it for, God, I don't even know how long I've had it now at this point. Over a year, maybe a year and a half. I forget. What am I doing? Yeah. But yeah, this is my baby. 100%. It is a Fender custom shop guitar that has been all over the world. It used to belong to a member of Newfound Glory, and I absolutely love this guitar. It plays so incredibly well, and whenever I pick up this guitar, it just speaks to me. It just does. Some people, you know, if it's a carpenter, you know, they got that number one tool that, you know, just does the job every time. It's the hammer or the saw that they always go back to. That is this for me. Whenever I pick up this guitar, I write, and I can't not write riffs whenever I pick up this guitar. It's such a breeze to play. It's such an inspiring instrument, and it really just is everything I could possibly want from an instrument. You know, it's got that awesome hardtail bridge. The only thing I did swap out, I mean, technically the pickguard I did swap out because I didn't really want the super aged cream one on there. So this is a parchment one. It's a little less creamy. And then the pickup in here is not the EMG 81 that I threw in the Lake Placid Strat. This is a bare knuckle super massive pickup, and it's actually a P90, but in a humbucker shape. And I just kind of had it painted to look like an EMG, just because I like that aesthetic. The neck is absolutely killer. You know, custom shop, they do really, really good work. It's got some locking tuners on here. I believe they're Schaller or Shaler. I think it's Schaller. I have this tuned with 9 to 46 strings, like I do on most of my Fenders. And I mean, everything about this guitar, it just rips. So, as you can see, it's got tons of dings all over it. It does have a little custom shop neck plate on there. Yeah, I don't know. There's not a ton to say about this other than I just absolutely love it. I did sell it a few years ago. I owned it for a little while and I sold it to a friend of mine. And pretty much as soon as I sold it, I regretted selling it. And it was the one that got away. And a couple years ago, or maybe like, I don't know, a year and a half ago or whatever, I was like, you know what? I need to do whatever I can to get this guitar back. I don't care if I have to sell everything else in order to do it. But that's basically what happened. I sold like 3 or 4 guitars, and I think I sold like 2 or 3, and then I traded one. I traded my Splatter Jazzmaster, which was another killer guitar, for this one. I did have a purple strap on this for a really long time, but I ended up just putting it on the red Jazzmaster because I needed something. And this was the only other strap I had. This is the original strap that it came with, and I threw a little Pennywise pin on there. So that's it. That's it. Love this thing. This would be the one I grab if the house was burning down. Probably this one, my acoustic, and then I would find a way to put my red Strat on my back. And if need be, or if I could make it happen, maybe my Les Paul too. I don't know. We're starting to get hard, but this would be the first one for sure. All right, it's time to talk about the Les Paul. I'm going to try to be a little bit quicker here because this video is clearly dragging on a little bit at this point. But if you've known me for a while, a long while, you know that I'm a big fan of Les Pauls. I used to play Les Pauls almost exclusively way back in the day. I had a couple Les Paul classics that I was always playing in my older videos, and I went away from that for a little while. I started diving back into the Fender game when I was really getting into the mod type thing, and then I went into like the Strandberg stuff and the PRS stuff and a few others, and then I went back into Fender for a while, and then I was like, you know what, I really just need another Les Paul. A big reason why I wanted this Les Paul was because of the Tom DeLonge Les Paul, which a lot of you know that I owned for a while. I owned it for, I don't know, a year and a half maybe. And that was honestly a very similar guitar to this one, and it's exactly why I chose this guitar. So the Tom DeLonge guitar, that was a 97 Les Paul standard, I believe. This is a 93. And I knew that I wanted one from the 90s just because they're just built better. They're built really, really well. There are some great 2000s models as well. But there's just something about the 90s ones that is just incredible. This one does have a neck break right at the base of the headstock there that was repaired long ago. I was a little weary of that, but I bought it from Chicago Music Exchange, which is a great, reputable dealer. So I really didn't worry about it. It originally had a Friedman Classic Plus pickup in here that I eventually took and I threw it in my Brave Strat. But I put a Seymour Duncan Custom 5. Custom 5 pickup in here, which is one of my favorite pickups for a Les Paul. And it just sounds monstrous. What more is there to say, really? Everything about this is original, I do believe, except for the pickups. It's in really good shape, other than the neck break there. Everything else, there's like not a lot of dings or anything or scratches really on this thing. It was, you know, other than the big problem, it was taken very good care of. So I absolutely love this guitar. I find myself picking it up a lot these days, just because it's just got such a fat, huge sound to it that is just hard to replicate in any other guitar. So yeah, absolutely love it. All right, this is my Gibson ES-335. This is the guitar that I've owned longer than any other guitar. I think I got it in summer of 2013, I think. And this belonged to my great-grandfather many years ago. He was a big jazz player. He got this in late 80s. This is an 86. I think he bought it in 88. I have the receipt somewhere in the case, probably. And yeah, this has seen a lot of work since becoming my guitar. When I got it, it was borderline unplayable, but I brought it to my tech, who I've mentioned a few times already, Healy Guitars, and he completely refretted the entire guitar. He flattened the fretboard, or not flattened, but he made it a true 12 radius for this guitar because it was worn in some spots, because it was played a lot. The frets were very, very small, and just there wasn't a lot you could do. We did try to just do just like a recrowning of them, and I even tried a couple different pickups in here. It originally, the original pickups in here I hated. They sounded so sterile and just lifeless. So I had tried a Seymour Duncan Invader, and because I was trying to try my my take on the boxcar racer thing. It sounded terrible. I hated it. Immediately brought it back and tried a bare knuckle mule pickup, which I also just didn't love in this guitar. I've used it in other guitars with a lot of success, but not so much this one. Then I found a set of bare knuckle 10th anniversary pickups and loved them. They sounded absolutely phenomenal in this guitar. And I had them in there for a really long time, probably, God, I don't even know, 10 years or close to it. And not that long ago, I decided I wanted to try something a little different. And I went with a Gibson Custom Bucker, which is my favorite Gibson pickup. It's my favorite pickup to use in Gibson guitars. And since I'm not huge on neck pickups, I just went with something a little bit more, run-of-the-mill. But it's a Duncan 59 in the neck. I just wanted something that would sound good, that wasn't going to be expensive or anything like that. But sounds great. Today. But yeah, If you know me, you know I'm not a huge fan of these big semi-hollow guitars, but, you know, with this being in my family for longer than I've been alive, you know, it would feel wrong to part with it for sure. It does play fantastic. It sounds even better. I use it to record all the time. It's just never really like my go-to to just like jam with, but it's very purposeful. It really has a lot of usefulness, and I mean, it's just cool as hell. I'd be lying if I said, I'd be lying if I didn't say, or if I did say. I don't know. I wish the color was different. If this was like a cherry red or even a black, if this was a black 335, man, I'd probably never put it down. I'm weird like that with colors. They just make things so much more enticing for me. Same with sports cars, I guess, for some people. But yeah, great guitar. Anyway, killer guitar. Not much else to say about it, but it's seen a lot of use. It's gotten a lot of life. All right, we are rounding third, going home for the electric guitars. I'm not even going to plug this one in because there's really no point. But this is a Squier Mini Jazzmaster. I actually bought this for my daughter, but she's still a little too small. But I got a deal on this and I just couldn't pass it up. I do want to eventually mod it so it just has the one pickup, the one volume knob, just because I just thought it would be super cute to kind of emulate the ones that I have. But until now, until then, I don't really play this. I think I set it up for a little while with an open tuning. It's probably terribly out of tune now. Yeah, sure is. But I had it in open tuning for a while and I was just kind of like screwing around with it, but it definitely needs a setup. It needs some better electronics, and I don't know, eventually this will be my daughter's guitar. Hopefully she loves it. Hopefully she plays it. She doesn't really know anything about this. I've had it for probably 5 or 6 months at this point, but it just kind of stays like in the middle of my rack, and she doesn't really come down here too much. But it's here. It's waiting for her. And yeah, hopefully she gets a lot of use out of it. If she doesn't, I will. But until that day comes, it's probably just going to hang out for a little while. Yeah. All right. On to the bass guitars. Okay. This is my custom Alan Corona Jag bass. Now, what's cool about this is a couple years ago, I went to Alan and I told him, make me a bass, but don't tell me what you're making. I told him to either do a Jag or a jazz or a precision bass. I wanted it to be like one of the main Fender basses. He said, okay, I'm definitely going to make it a Jag bass, but I'm not going to tell you anything else. And he just kind of watched the things that I was posting about guitars, and he was watching old videos trying to gather like what sort of info he could on what I liked about guitars, and he realized pretty quickly that I'm a big fan of purple, and he must have seen some of the stuff I was doing with like maybe the PRS guitars, where it had like the flame maple and the quilt maple and like all that sort of like crazy wood on there. So that's why he chose this. And I had a couple other basses for a little while that had this jazz pickup and the inverted P bass pickup. So that's why he went with that. And I can't argue with it. I think it'd be really cool, or I think it is really cool. The only thing I did tell him was I wanted a maple fretboard and that I like jazz necks. So either a jazz neck or a Jaguar, something with the thinner sort of neck, because it's just way more comfortable for me. Now, when I'm using this bass, I almost always have the bridge pickup all the way up, and I usually have the neck pickup rolled down slightly, but I almost always have them both on. Yeah, this bass has gotten a lot of use, and it's just super cool. I had to put a little Ghastly sticker on there. I had one lying around, and it's just kind of taken over that sort of that vibe, you know, because with the quilt maple behind here, it almost has like a smoky kind of feel to it, almost like the look of the Ghastly, and plus the Ghastly's got, you know, black and purple. I was like, it's perfect, so why not? It does have a black back, which is pretty cool. It's a string through body, which I definitely like, and it has the input jack on the side, which I like a lot too. I hate the jack, or I hate having the jack on the top. But yeah, this bass has gotten a ton of use. I use it for recording a lot. I use it for covers, probably primarily. My next bass I probably use for recording a little bit more, but this thing gets a ton of use, and it plays great, sounds great, and yeah, I love it. Thank you, Alan. I forgot to mention, these are Seymour Duncan quarter-pound pickups too, and these are both just volume knobs. I didn't have the tone knob in there because I never really used it on bass anyway. But that's about it. Pretty cool. Okay, time for another bass. This is my Sterling Stingray bass. I don't remember the exact model on this because they've had so many different ones. But I've had this for maybe 5 or 6 years at this point, maybe a little longer, and it just plays great. I love this bass. One of the things I really like about this bass is it actually has that thinner neck shape like a jazz bass does. Their typical like full-fledged Ernie Ball Stingray basses have a thicker, fatter neck, which is still a great neck, but it's definitely harder for someone like me to play. I usually have the volume all the way up, and I usually have the bass and the treble here right at middle, which usually works for me. I love using this bass for original work. It just seems to blend really well with the guitar sound that I have. This kind of has like a growliness to it that not a lot of other basses have. Certainly not the ones that I own. And I threw a little Dragonite Pokemon sticker on there. This is the one that kind of started the Pokemon stickers, at least on my bass guitars. I just thought that was kind of cool. But yeah, this thing was like $300, and I've played the ever-loving crap out of it. I really, really, really recommend these to beginners and up. You know, it's really, really great bass. I considered many, many times to upgrading to a full-fledged Ernie Ball, but the neck shape was always kind of throwing me off a little bit. I know there are some other options like the Ernie Ball Sterling model that is kind of like a somewhat smaller body, has the same electronics and everything, but the smaller neck. And I know they have the Stingray SLO Special, which has that smaller neck, but those are really rare. Plus they're kind of expensive too. But for $300, I mean, this thing is an absolute steal. Love it. All right. A couple years ago, maybe like a year and a half, 2 years ago, I just got bit by the P-Bass bug. And I walked into a Guitar Center one day, and I saw this used beat to hell Squier P-Bass, and it had this little 20th anniversary, it was 20th anniversary of 1982 thing on the back, on the neck plate, and I was like, so that would make it a 2002, and I thought that was really cool. because 2002 was the year I started playing, and I was very, very close to getting a bass instead of a guitar. I was kind of on the fence for a little while, and I thought bass was pretty cool. And this color, a lot of people might not know, is Baltic blue. And this was actually the first, or this was the color of the very first guitar I ever got. I had gotten a Squier Affinity Strat in Baltic blue. And I saw this there, and I just thought it was so cool that this was like the one that could have been mine, 20 years prior. And I don't know, I started playing it, and I just thought it played really, really well. So, I don't know what it is. I got this thing for like $150, no joke. And I picked this thing up more than probably either of the other two basses since I've gotten it, just because it's just got such a great vibe to it. It plays really well, and I don't know. I got bit by that P bass bug, and I think I'm still feeling it. It just plays really well, super resonant, and it's just super cool. So, and the fact that it just had those little things, it being the blue, it being the year I started, I was like, this is so odd that it just kind of showed up one day, and I don't know, couldn't help myself. So sometimes those deals are out there. Keep an eye out. $150. I just saved myself $150. I don't know. I'm just speaking nonsense at this point. That's it for bass guitars. So I only have one more instrument to show you, at least readily available. So let me pull it out. This is my didgeridoo. This has been a rig rundown. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.